Hi, this is some brief initial documentation for this new website. I'm going to cover a few things. Firstly, the tools that we use to build this website and some of the plugins that are installed that allow further development to continue into the future. A couple of the practical issues that I'm going to address include how to make this, for example, how to make this read more toggle work. And also using that idea, how to create a frequently asked question page, and then also looking at inserting a contact form on the Contact Us page. And that should cover most of the aspects of editing and inserting new content on this website. So let's get started. And now in this browser window, I'm not logged in. This is the view that a normal member of the public would see. It's the public view. And in another browser window, I have logged in with an administrator user account. And just on the topic of user accounts, there are various different types of WordPress users, and the most powerful being an administrator. And as an administrator, you have access obviously to all of the tools in the back end and configuration settings. But for normal editing of content, you don't need to be logged in as an administrator. You just need to be logged in as an editor. And it's worthwhile setting up a user account for normal editing in order to protect oneself from inadvertently making changes to the website. Okay, so let's continue on with a tour of the dashboard and the back end. Okay, now looking down the left hand side here, you can see the tools that are installed and active on this website, and the three that stand out are Elementor, which is a page builder tool, and that is a relatively easy to use tool, well known, and has a lot of add-ons, one of which I've installed here, Mighty Add-ons. And that gives a lot more scope to what can be done with the content appearance on a particular page. In addition to Elementor, this website also has Oxygen, and Oxygen is both a page builder and site builder. And just to illustrate that, Oxygen is effectively looking after the header and footer of this website, whilst Elementor is looking after the content between the header and footer of this website. Let me just explain what I mean by that. So if we look at this home page, for example, the header is from the top of the page down to just below the menu here, and that header is the same on all pages, and the footer is bound by this green box as well, which has another abbreviated menu at the bottom. Now the header and footer are generally going to be shared across the page contents, and so most of the time when someone wants to edit a page or a post, they will be working between the header and the footer, and to do that we've used Elementor. So the content from this point down to this point is generated by Elementor. The reason for that is because Elementor is relatively easier to use as a page builder, but Oxygen is more powerful. So creating the header and footer could be done at a page level, but because it's shared across different pages, it really needs to be done in a more efficient way using a site builder like Oxygen. And Oxygen provides really good tools for different headers and footers for different pages and posts, and that's why that's used. So for the benefit of future developers working on this site, Oxygen is used for the header and footer, and Elementor for the page content. Looking in the back end, Oxygen has a templates area, and at the moment there's just one template defined, but you can have a whole host of these templates, and they can be defined for all pages or all pages and posts, or just posts, different categories of posts. So you can have a different template for different purposes. And so here's an example of editing the main template, and if I select one of the elements, you can see that the properties and attributes are listed on the left hand side there, and it's quite extensive. Oxygen is a fantastic tool, and it can be used as a site and page builder. In this particular case on this website, it's only used as a site builder, and that's what I mean by looking after the header and footer. For example, this menu here is embedded inside this div, inside this section, and the menu is controlled across here. So I've got two menus defined on this website, one for the header and one for the footer, as you can see here. This one at the top is the menu, is the main menu, and the one at the bottom is the footer menu. And there's lots of scope for modifying the appearance of these menus, the hover, attributes, and as you can see, it is extremely versatile. Oxygen is a really good tool for that. However, it is a little bit difficult to use for the end user for the page content. So let's have a look at Elementor for the use of editing the page content between the header and the footer. Okay, so let's have a look at, for example, this page. And as you can see, between the header and footer, there's sections that have multiple columns or one column. We've got buttons, we've got graphics, we've got a gallery layout, and some more text here. And so this is a good example to use as to how to edit the page content. So at the top here we can edit page or edit with Elementor. Edit with Elementor is visible here because the page knows that Elementor was used to build this page. But if you were just going from the dashboard to pages, for example, about spinal flow technique, and you just pressed edit instead of edit with Elementor, then what would happen, let me just show you, you would go to the normal WordPress edit screen, and you would have an option of a rather confusing set of options here. Back to WordPress editor, which is something that you shouldn't do because that could delete all the content on the site. And then also down here is edit with Oxygen, which you also don't want to do because that is for the header and footer. What you actually want to do is edit with Elementor. So that's one of the consequences of adding tools to WordPress, is that it gives you more options, but it also raises some risks. And it's important to keep track of which pages should be edited with Elementor, which elements should be edited with Elementor, and which should be edited with Oxygen. As I mentioned before, the header and footer is edited with Oxygen using Oxygen's main template or another template listed here, and it looks like this. And if you want to edit the header and footer, you can see these sections are here. But if you tried to edit the actual page content, you can see that is an element called inner content. You can't directly edit this in Oxygen, but you can in Elementor. Okay, let me just show you that. Okay, so we edit with Elementor, and that's going to load the Elementor page builder interface. Just give that a moment to load. And now you can see as I hover over these page elements, I can edit them. So for example, this is a text block, which is a single column block, and I can go over here and make changes to the text. So for example, adding a full stop at the end. And I can also do other things like change the style, and there are other aspects which are less used but quite powerful in terms of the behavior and the appearance of this. Now, one of the things to note is that we've got some global styles here for the typography, and we tend to use this one, which I've named text. Most of the text is this, and the definition of that is Montserrat font, which was the which was specified in the design document. Okay, so this element here is a dual column element, and so I think you can see, yes, this is a 50-50 split. This is an image element, and we can change the image here by selecting one from the media library, and these are all the images that were supplied by the designer and formatted for this website. Okay, so I'll just close that out. We are of course assuming that whoever's editing this website has at least a reasonable understanding of how WordPress works. The purpose of this video is to explain the tools that sit on top of WordPress, namely Elementor and Oxygen. One of the things that you notice here is that if you look at one of these advanced tabs, for example, in Elementor, there is some resemblance to similar kinds of things in Oxygen. So you've got advanced attributes here. So there is a similarity between Oxygen and Elementor, but Oxygen is far more powerful than Elementor. And Elementor is a little bit easier to use. So we're going to use Elementor to build our frequently asked questions page in a moment, as an example. Okay, now to learn more about Elementor, recommend go to elementor.com, and there are a ton of resources here for the developer to get their teeth into. Similarly for Oxygen, going to their website oxygenbuilder.com, and there are heaps of tutorials on this site as well as on YouTube, and same for Elementor. And with these two tools, a lot of things are possible for this website. Okay, let's get back to Elementor. One thing that I really want to stress though is that if you were editing a page, whether it's from the dashboard or from that menu item that I just clicked on, you want to make sure that if you're editing page content, you use Edit with Elementor. If you need to edit the header and footer, you would be editing with Oxygen. Okay, great. Next we're going to have a look at frequently asked questions. And through that process, we're also going to look at an element called the toggle, which will help us with the read more on the front page as well. Okay, in this section of the video, I'm going to walk through how to construct a frequently asked questions page, and that is going to cover almost all of the common aspects of editing or creating a new page. And remember again, I have to stress that we are working on the content between the header and footer here, so we will be using Elementor for this, and that's important to remember because at the top here you've got edit page, and also there's an Oxygen menu here, edit main template. This is not what you want at this stage unless you wanted to edit the header and the footer. Okay, so now this page has not yet been edited with Elementor, and that's why there is no Elementor up here on the status bar. So when I open this page to edit, it will take me to the normal WordPress Gutenberg editor here, and as you can see I've got the option to edit with Elementor and edit with Oxygen. We don't want to edit with Oxygen here, we want to edit with Elementor. And we're going to build a frequently asked list. So that would be typically a heading, and if someone clicks on that heading, it toggles open some text underneath for frequently asked questions. We are also going to use that to power this read more here. So rather than make that a link to another page, we're going to have some text opening up on the front page there. So okay, so let's get started with that. So we're going to edit with Elementor. Okay, now we can use this home page here as a bit of an example so that we can achieve consistency across the website. And in particular, looking at things like, okay, what heading styles are used. As you can see, this heading up here is a different style from this one. And the reason for that is because this is a H1, and you should only have one H1 style on the page, and that's for search engine optimization, SEO purposes. So this is actually a H3, heading 3. And you can also see that the text is a different font. So the font used for the heading and the font used for the text is slightly different. You can also see the text is it's not a true black, it's a muted black, and these are all from the design document. You may also notice that the read more, which is what we're going to create into a toggle in a moment, is a slightly different text. So that looks a bit out of place there. We're going to fix that up. You may also notice that here is what looks like a heading, but it's not a heading, it's actually text, or more likely an introductory bit of text to this paragraph lists here. And so there's a couple of issues here, like for example, this looks a bit like the line spacing's out, or maybe it's a bit shouty. That probably needs to be modified a bit. So we're going to have a look at that, and we're going to use this page as the example for this page. Right, so let's have a look at this one. It is a H1 tag. Its style is Roboto 400, and everything else is default. Right, okay, so let's have a look at this one. Looks a bit different. Typography, it's Roboto slab. Oh, okay, so first of all, let's change that to Roboto. There we go, so the serifs have been taken away, and that's good. And here's the update or the save button. Alright, so that's great. Now the next thing we need to do is add the actual frequently asked questions, and for that we're going to have a look at something called a toggle. I'm going to search for that here, toggle. Okay, and there's a couple of options here. We can use tabs, and you can see by the image what that would look like. We can use an accordion, or we can use a toggle. And this one is as part of a pro pack, which is not available to us at the moment. Let's have a look at a standard toggle first. So we'll drag that over here. That should give us a bit of content to play with, toggle 1 and toggle 2. So let's update that, and then we'll have a look at that on the front end. Back to our incognito window, you can see these toggles function like so. So the heading here is a clickable link, and so that's what you would make the frequently asked question and then the explanation below that. So here, for example, we can make this FAQ 1, whoops, 1, and this one could be FAQ 2, and so on. And then editing in the box here gives us FAQ 2 explanation, blah blah blah, and you can see that we have a full editor here. We can add media, we can add an image, we can add embedded video, whatever we like to do. We can also add more content here, so we can do that by duplicating an existing item or just adding another item here. So with a new toggle title, that would be FAQ 3, and the toggle content. Let's update that, have a look on the front end, refresh this, and so that will work nicely as an FAQ page. But there is another option which I'm going to look at now. Okay, so let's try the other option that we saw before, which is an accordion. It's another type of toggle. Let's have a look at that. So the idea here is that you've got content, but if you open one item, all the other items will close. Let's add a couple more here. So only one item is visible. And for a very long FAQ page, that may be appropriate. On the other hand, it may be that the reader wants to keep more than one tab open at a time. So it's really up to the content designer to choose which one of these two options actually makes the most sense. Something that allows you to open more than one, or something that allows you to open only one. And of course you can have a combination of these on the page as well. Okay, now having seen these two different types of toggles, one's called a toggle, the other one's called an accordion, we can see that the most appropriate one for this read more expander would be the toggle, and only one of them. So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to put a single item toggle right here. Okay, so let's bring up our menu of items here. We'll search for our toggle, and we're just going to drag that over just above the existing read more there, which we are going to take away at some point. We only need one toggle. We're going to make the title of that read more, and then underneath here we've got our read more text here. Okay, so that's great. Let's just update that, make sure that works. We're going to have a look at the front end now. We're going to the front page, read more. Yep, that works. Now we just need to take away that other bit of text, which we can do. Okay, take that away. Right, good. Okay, so that is ready for more text to be added there. So let's just update that page again. Okay, and now let's have a look on the front end. So that should be tidied up now. Read more. Okay, and that is how you can use a toggle for read more. It's not just for frequently asked questions. It's a very useful tool. Okay, so what we've done is looked at the two different options for the frequently asked questions. I think that we're going to use the toggle element rather than the accordion element there. So I'll just update that page, have another look in the incognito window here. Right, so that's ready for content to be added. Fantastic. Okay, and from the Elementor editor to go back to the dashboard, I click on that dashboard element there. And that will actually take us back to the Gutenberg editor, and then we click on the W for WordPress and we're back in the dashboard. Okay, and as you can see, we've defined all of these pages here. This sample page, I think I'll just throw back to the trash. There are draft versions of the privacy policy page as well. And also there's a page for blog posts. And so as we add blog posts, they will end up on the blog post page. But at the moment there is no link on the menu for the blog post because there aren't any blog posts. So let's have a quick look at the menu before we look at the other plugins that have been installed but not activated. So you can see that we do actually have a blog posts page, and the posts will appear on that page. Let's have a look at what that looks like. The blog post page has the URL blog, and at the moment the design is a fairly simple minimalist sort of design with the blog post title, the date, the author, and whether there are any comments, the featured image, the text, and a button to go to the actual blog post. So the archive page lists all of the blog posts in a sequence from top to bottom. Okay, I've got two here just as an example. There's also one here with a comment. So if we were to look at these individual posts, you can go there by clicking on the title or by clicking on the read more. They look like this. So the individual posts have the title, the featured image, the content, and if there are any comments, they are listed below. And the way that the website is set up, we are requiring a person to be logged in order to be able to comment. And also if so you can see here they must be logged in to comment, and also any comments need to be approved by a moderator. So the site is locked down fairly tightly. Okay, the other example post we've got here again, it's the title, the featured image, and some text there just to display the different formats. Okay, so, but as you can see in the menu here, there is no link to the blog archive page, which is this one. And that's because we've only got a couple of sample blog posts here. And so until there are real posts, it isn't really appropriate to have a blog menu item here. But it is worth showing how to do that. So that's what we're going to do next. What we're going to do is just temporarily add a blog page link to the end of this menu item after Contact Us here. So let's go back to the dashboard, and under Appearance is Menus. We have two menus, the main at the top and the footer menu. So we're going to select the main menu, which is already selected, and under Pages here, View All, select the blog posts page, add that to the menu, and here we can move it around wherever we like. So if we put that there, save this menu, then go back to any page, refresh that, and you can see that there's a blog link there now. So so let's say, for example, we're on the home page, we want to go and see the blog. that takes us to the blog archive, and then from there we can link to the individual blog posts. So now I'm going to remove that, and that's very simple as well. Remove and save menu. So when we are ready to add a blog archive, we can do that. Alright, so that's done. Okay, the final thing that we're going to do is have a look at the plugins that have been added to this website, which are not really in use at the moment. And the first one is Fluent Forms. That's actually activated, and there are forms here, example forms. So for example, there's a subscription form and a contact demo form here. Let's have a look at the contact form demo preview. So this is what it would look like. And in fact, let's just run through the process of inserting that on the Contact Us page. So the Contact Us page at the moment has a Google map embedded to 44 Maple Street, Karoi, and all the address and opening time details here. And let's imagine we want to add a contact form in this position here. Okay, so we use this shortcode. Click to copy that shortcode. That's copied to the clipboard here. And then we want to go to the Contact Us page. So let's have a look at all the pages. Contact Us. We want to edit that with Elementor. Just going to open that up in a new tab. So the Elementor editor is loading here. And that shortcode is a bit of kind of pseudo programming that allows us to add some sophisticated content here. So we search for shortcode, and we're going to put that under, just let's put it underneath the photo. Yep. And we just paste that shortcode there for the form. Doesn't appear to be displaying correctly there. Oh, maybe I chose the wrong one. Oh yes, okay, so actually needs to be shortcode number 1. Okay, so let's change that. I can change that manually. Apply. It should give us the full contact form here. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so that's there, and update that, and let's have a look at that on the front end. So there's a contact form there. Okay, and those contact form entries will be viewable here by clicking on entries. At the moment there shouldn't be any entries here. No entries. Okay, so in fact what I might do is leave that contact form there. Okay, great. So that's Fluent Forms. And Fluent Forms is a very capable addition to WordPress. Now let's have a look at some of the other plugins. So as you can see, not all of these are active. Only 6 plugins are active, but I have added some other plugins that I normally use, and there's just none of them are super necessary, but they just make the job of a developer easier. So Advanced Scripts, and you can visit the plugin site there to see what that does. It allows coding to be added to different parts of the website, so more sophisticated functions can be added, such as forms, such as display of data, and so on. That's pretty advanced, as the title suggests. Akismet Anti-Spam that can be activated. Do need to set up an account with Akismet there, and that would help reduce the amount of spam on your blog posts. But we have made it necessary for people to be logged in anyway, and also for comments to be approved, so there shouldn't be a huge drama there. Contact Form 7 was installed by default, but we're using Fluent Forms down here. Elementor is the page builder, we've looked at that. Groundhog is a really interesting plugin. It's a customer or client relationship management and email marketing and automation tool. Absolutely brilliant, and this is the free version here, and we can use that to create newsletter mail outs, and it does an equivalent job to MailChimp but installed within your website, so that's keeping your data on your website, so that's really good. Hello Dolly is just a bit of fun in WordPress, not needed. Hydrogen Pack allows copy and paste and lots of other things on Oxygen templates. So I've actually installed my licensed version of Hydrogen Pack. That just makes it easier to edit Oxygen templates. Limit login attempts is useful once the website is fully functional and in use. It's a good idea to limit the login attempts, especially if you've got a lot of users that have set up accounts on the site. Mighty Add-ons is some extra useful elements for Elementor. Oxy Toolbox is also for Oxygen, not in use at this stage. Oxygen elements for WooCommerce. If we add a shop to this site, that would most likely be WooCommerce, and Oxygen allows elements for WooCommerce. But in fact, we probably wouldn't be using this, we'd be using Elementor's elements for WooCommerce. Gutenberg integration, useful but not in use here because Elementor is doing the page building. Really simple SSL allows the lock icon to happen up here, and HTTPS, which makes error messages go away for security. Uncanny Automator is another amazing automation program, and it allows triggers to be defined and actions to be defined. Just an amazing, very useful automation tool, and you can go to the Uncanny Owl website for details of what that does. There's also a backup and restore plugin here installed. I haven't activated it yet. Super Cache, again, that's useful, except would need to take care if we're installing a shop. WP Funnels is sales, landing pages and checkout pages. Just amazing. WP Funnels is really good. It's an alternative to something called Cart Flows, and then of course Yoast SEO, which is widely used for search engine optimization. I wouldn't be activating this until the text on all the pages, and at least on all the main pages and some of the posts, have been stabilized, and then it would be appropriate to activate Yoast. So there's quite a lot of tools here, some of them more advanced than others, and as I've said a number of times now, the important thing is remembering that Oxygen is used for the header and footer, and Elementor is used for the page content, simply because they make best use of the tools in their relevant strength areas. Also, while I'm talking about Oxygen, I've since starting to make this this video, I've added a few more templates here, such as the footer and the header menu and the header banner, and also templates for blog posts and for the blog archive. So that's all set up and ready to go. And that completes the tour for this website. Obviously there is so much more to talk about, but this is a good overview. Thanks very much for watching and listening.